Good evening, YouTube. You guys are now watching another segment of the TheCaliEffect. Today we're going to be doing the Spellbook Prophecy deck profile, a very interesting deck that you see everywhere in this format. I've been through a lot of variants and a lot of phases in this deck, and I feel that this is the best version for me. Obviously, if you guys want to see some other games proving that, or just seeing some other builds, I definitely do have, I believe, 3 wonderful games in this format, and I do plan on adding more. But let's get down to the deck. We're going to be running triple copies of High Priestess of Prophecy. Her role in the deck is varies in almost any given situation. A lot of people like to play 2. Some people play none. I feel in a deck that has a lack of monsters and you can't abuse Starhawk, High Priestess of Prophecy should be maximized. And the ability to reveal 3 and special summon and then banish cards and then destroy other cards, she just has an amazing effect. Not to mention that she's a 2500 body and a spellcaster, so she still does fit most of the requirements in this deck. Next, we're going to go with triple copies of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Now, this is practically standard. The main card of the deck, the Rhoda, getting you any of your Spellbook spell cards. For you new people to Prophecy, if you did not know, Spellbook of Secrets does fetch you the Spellbook of Magician of Prophecy, which then in turn gets you the Masters copy Secrets, and then you can go on to more plays, setting up Spellbooks in Graveyard for Fate. Next, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Temperance of Prophecy. I really wasn't fond of this card coming back into it, but I'm running triple copies of High Priestess of Prophecy. I'm also running that World of Prophecy, and I need to see this card as soon as possible. This card ultimately gets you into your world plays. The world play with this card is amazing. That's nonetheless being able to recycle your used spellbooks to activate his effect to your hand, and then if you have 4 to blow up the world is just amazing. And then the effect to bring out High Priestess at any given time, just by having her on the field or activating a spellbook card previously, it's just a little too good to pass up, and she's just a really good solid card. Next, 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is a spellcaster type monster, so when you do use his effect, you will be able to gain certain advantages with it. You'll be able to Spellbook of Life it back and do a whole bunch of other wacky combos if you want to synchro summon with it. Effect Veiler is just a really good card in here. 2 copies of Justice of Prophecy. Now, another thing I was really sketchy about is running 2 copies of Justice of Prophecy and 3 copies of Temperance. Obviously, it's a lot of conflictual issues with that. I only run 4 monsters that will receive the requirements of Justice of Prophecy and Temperance, and obviously there's 5 on the board right now, but it's a lot of things that people don't notice. First of all, during a normal game, you will never see, or it's very improbable that you will see all 5 Temperances of the Prophecies and 2 Justice of Prophecies. It's just highly improbable. But then drawing them is probably one of the biggest things that you would need to do. Justice of Prophecy does fetch that spellbook to your hand and the High Priestess, which is amazing. And not only that, if all else fails, she is a 1600 body that can be powered masters, and then just allow you to go into a lot of your plays. Just really, really good card. Another thing is that it baits out a lot of Effect Veilers. I don't know why people like doing it, but they like Effect Veiling Justice. That copy of World of Prophecy, really good. Just too good to ignore for me. Being able to when she special summon no matter what. Actually, I'm sorry, if she's special summoned through a spellbook card? Yeah, when it's special summoned through a spellcaster or spellbook card, my apologies. You get to add 2 spellbook cards from your hand. That off the bat makes her amazing. But the ability to reveal 4 different spellbooks and destroy the whole world, I think that really puts her into the competitive scene with this deck, essentially being a Dark Hole and a Heavy Storm in 1 monster. Next, we're going to be running Triple Secrets. Not really much to be said about that. I'm just going to go on to the next card, the essentials to the deck. I guess what I can't talk about is Triple Masters. With Spellbook of Fate at 1, I'm only running 1 power. I feel that Spellbook of Masters is a pseudo Spellbook of Secrets. Provided that you do play the deck right, you will always have a Spellbook card in Graveyard that you can use with Masters, and you will always have a Spellcaster monster on the field or something to use with it. Spellbook of the Masters it's almost like a card, it fits in the balance, because not only does it allow you to abuse your spellbook cards in the graveyard, and it basically says it's okay to keep your normal some certain spellbook cards in the graveyard, it also acts as a median of the limited cards that you can't have. Like, you don't really want to play triple Spellbook of Eternity, but you do want to be able to gain its effects. You don't want to play triple Spellbook of, or you do want to play actually more than 3 Spellbook of Secrets, but you can't. So it acts as a really good median. Just overall, really good card. You want to see this card as fast as possible. Also, keep in mind that you can easily get rid of Spellbook of Master with your High Priestess of Prophecy or your Spellbook of Fate plays, and won't miss it, because you still will have 2 more on the deck. It's just so many good things that happen with triple Spellbook of Masters. Next, we're going to be talking about 2 Grand Spellbook of Tower. Actually, I think that's really just about much that we can say. Really good card, are the best filled spell card for spellcasters. Next, 2 Spellbook of Eternity. Grabbing those banished cards works really well with Masters. 2 copies of Crescent. I've seen a couple of builds start dropping Crescent, and I still feel that it's one of the premier Spellbook spell cards in the game, mainly because it does allow you to grab 3 spellbooks and randomly add 1, but just the fact that it puts a spellbook card engraved in the name of itself. If you manipulate your graveyard pretty well, you can easily make this card live at any given time. Keep in mind, Spellbook of Fate is still a card. High Priestess is still a card. I do run Transmigration of Prophecy, and Spellbook of Tower helps you put those spellbook cards to your deck. So I think 2 is a perfect amount, and it does allow you to abuse all of those spellbook cards. Next one, Spellbook of Life. It was previously dropped in my other build because I wasn't running the high-level monsters, but with the return of the high-level monsters, Spellbook of Life is essentially really good for special summoning any of those dead spellcaster monsters. Next, 1 copy of Spellbook of Power. I already feel this deck is pretty powerful with your premier monsters being 2500 and 2900, and the deck suited to summon nothing but those monsters. I feel that Spellbook of Power isn't that really needed in that deck, but it definitely is another spellbook card with a spellbook name, and it has a whole bunch of great attributes. Definitely Masters on top of Power. After you power the monster, giving it 2000 plus attack, it make your Ward of Prophecy 4900, which is nothing to scuff at. Next, we're going to be running 1 copy of Spellbook Fate. It was limited for a reason. Really good card. I don't see anybody playing less than 1, or less than the required amount. Next is Spellbook of Wisdom. There's no need for Mystical Space Typhoon because we run Wisdom. Protection from spells and traps. Just really good. 1 copy of Book of Moon, and that's basically going to sum up the spells. Next up to traps, since this build is a little different, since Spellbook of Fate did get banned, I felt that we definitely need Spellbook players to play traps, and my traps are going to be Fiendish Chain. I love Effect Negation. I love stopping Fire Fist Bear. I love stopping all of their plays, and Fiendish Chain is going to do that job that what we need to do. Next is going to be Mirror Force. 2 copies of Mirror Force. Mirror Force really gets rid of those problematic cards, and I really feel that it really works in a Prophecy deck, because people are so used to attacking over you and doing this and doing that. It's like, oh, he has Fate, he's not going to do anything. Well, Mirror Force is a surprise factor, and especially since we run a low monster count, we want to hit them where it hurts the most. Next, Bottomless Trap Hole. Solemn Warning. Compulsory Evacuation Device. And that copy of Transmigration of Prophecy. Transmigration of Prophecy is extremely clutch in this deck. Recycling certain spellbook cards like Fate that's limited to 1, or that power that you really need back to your deck, and then be able to go into that and grab it whenever you need. It essentially does help you speed up that Fate play. Also, another thing is that it disrupts your opponent's graveyard bad. If you're ever playing Bujins, this card is probably one of the worst things that they can go against. After setting up for 2 turns, you finally get to put it back to the deck, and they're going to have problems with your spellbook deck. Against Fire Fist, putting Spirit or Leopard back to the deck, it might seem counterproductive, but when they're summoning that Spirit or when they're activating Rekindling, putting them back to the deck really hurts them a lot, because it makes them neg for that extra card. I think that this card is highly underrated and extremely clutch this format. Next, we're going to be going over the extra deck. I guess you can play it however you want to, because, I mean, we really don't run an extra deck. You really rarely find yourself synchroing or exceeding for these. I'm going to be playing Leo. So many ways to make them in this deck, especially if you get off Effect Railer. Start a Sparky Dragon, Crimson Blader, Black Rose, HTS Psyhemoth, Armatus, Mistburg Colossus, number 11 Big Eye. I do have like 3 level 7s that are easy to access. Draco Sak, Down Syndrome Magician. I love her. She's amazing. Mecha Equipped Engineer, Fortune Tune, Die Emerald, Shining Elf, and Gotcha Good Tattoo. I think the biggest thing, or the best addition that we have had, is Downert Magician, mainly because she's a spellcaster. She does help us get off those plays. If you ever found yourself going into an Exceed because you had to, that's, you know, rank 3 and lower, you can just go over into Downert Magician and you will always have that spellcaster that you do need. Just a little small shout out to Down Syndrome Magician. Next, for the extra, or I'm sorry, the side deck, we're running triple maxi. For decks that like to special summon, they can potentially give us a good hand, or our hand back, with maxi. Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer. It's pretty obvious. It wrecked in the format when Dragon Rulers were first out. It wrecks still when your opponent really needs their graveyard, and it denies Bujins and a lot of other graveyard control decks, or a lot of decks that rely on graveyard. Very bad. Jowgen the Spiritualist. Ultimately, if you can keep this card alive, it shuts down a lot of decks, like just completely. The reason why it's not main board is because of it's such a low attack, and I really can't compensate resources or dedicate resources to Jowgen. So it definitely hits the sideboard because of that discard effect. But like I said, if you can keep this card on the field, it shuts down decks completely. 2 copies of Kaiser Kalazim. We don't summon, or we don't typically have like 4 or 5 monsters on the field. We typically have like 1 or 2-ish. And being able to Kaiser Kalazim the opponent, it basically could win you the game on its own right. It's a very, very jerkish card, but it's also extremely amazing on your side. 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, being able to hit those Fire Formation Tinkies, back row that your opponent has, and even the mistakes that you know that they cited, just because they like hitting you guys with the struggle. We're going to hit them back with the struggle with triple Mystical Space Typhoon. Next is triple copy of Royal Decree. Royal Decree is probably one of the cards that they'll never see coming, because you do run 8 traps. Typically when I'm citing in Royal Decree, I'm citing in Mystical Space Typhoons or Kaiser Kalazims or something else, basically to help take out my traps and establish some type of ward. But Royal Decree is something that they never see. They start to cite in a buttload of traps, or they already have a buttload of traps and you know they can't cite them out. Royal Decree effectively cancels all of that, shuts them deck down, allows your prophecies to get into whatever they need to go for the go-ahead kill. Last is that copy of Soul Drain. I really dislike playing the Murder Mode matchup, even though it's an easy game 1. Game 2 and game 3, they like to try to come back at us hard, and Soul Drain really puts a rest to it if you do draw it. It's a nice one of. Thank you guys for watching another segment of The Cali Effect. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy.